Hello, everyone. It's a busy day today. So we have a very interesting study about the biological evolution. And hopefully, at the end of the class, it will become more the biological revolution. And the biological evolution is the beginning, not the beginning of the universe, but the beginning of the Earth. If we study it in the beginning in the spirals, then we see that in the beginning there's only kind of vibration, and gradually it's more materialization. So the Earth itself is the same thing. The beginning of the Earth in the spiral of the solar system was actually a big cloud, an energy cloud that gradually was moving into more and more into the solar system, because the Earth is moving more and more towards the sun. So then this big energetic cloud, so gradually the sun was penetrating and we got some more stronger influence there, that gradually that energy started to form and to materialize. And the first materialization is, what's the most simple element that we have in the chemics? Well, the first one is hydrogen. So atomic weight is 1 and it has only 1 electron. So that were the basic, the first elements, like carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, helium, all those kind of gases in a way, that were the first forms. Then, so if you have a lot of different kind of elements, there's some a little bit more yin, some a little bit more yang. So, plus and the minus, yin and yang, the more the polarity is there, the more attraction is there. And one of the first chemical attractions that formed a new element is water. So hydrogen and oxygen, they kind of fused and then became water. That's one of the first ones. And that is very essential for developing life. If we go discover the universe to Mars or whatever, so we're always trying to find, was there water or is there water in order to have a kind of form of life. So there are two things that we need in order to have life. And one is water, and the other one is the sun. So if we have water, if we have sunlight, then what happens? If you put a bottle of water in the sunshine and you wait long enough, then of course it evaporates. But also on the bottom, it's turning into green. On the roof, the same thing. There's water, there's sunlight. That's the first plant life that we will have. The evolution of plants and the evolution of animals. So the first plant life that exists is a kind of green, a kind of moss, very simple form of plant life. Then in that kind of life, already some kind of animal life or something in between, like enzymes, and you have bacteria and viruses and all that kind of stuff. And together with the first animal that starts to appear, so it's one cell. Amoeba has only one cell. That's the first primitive life that existed in the animal life. Then gradually, that water environment, we have different kind of elements, and elements that are a little bit more heavy start to appear, like magnesium and sodium, potassium, and whatever. And all those minerals in the sea, because we call them salt, sea salt, salt, that are the minerals in the sea. So then the moss that gradually developed a little bit more into seaweed, then the seaweed that is growing into the water with more minerals that will absorb those minerals. So minerals are yang, so they're in the middle. So then those minerals we will find in the seaweed, in the nerves. In the nerves are the minerals more concentrated. So then on the evolution of the animals, one cell, more cells, whatever, but still a kind of jelly-like fish life. If that jelly-like invertebrate start to eat food with more minerals, they also get more minerals in their system, and we have the, now I forget the name, the grate in the fish, the spine in the fish. So that's where in the center, that's where the minerals are. So if the environment is changing, then the plants that are growing there are adapting, and animal life is adapting too. So then this big electromagnetic cloud that start to form water and life, whatever, more and more the sun is penetrating, and more different kind of information, like from the moon and the planets, and so more and more information is getting through there. And all those outside radiation information that has a strong effect on life. So for example, the sun has a very strong influence on one of the basic things of our nervous system. And that is our autonomic nervous system that is working to create tension, to create relaxation, the whole pulsation that I was talking about before. So that is all kind of strongly influenced by the sun. So we are more active when the sun is coming up, and we can relax more when the sun is going down. So in the morning, then we get up and we have a lot of things to do. So that's the sympathetic nervous system. And then at night we start to relax and we see the whole picture and we're looking at the stars, and then parasympathetic system is more active. So that two kind of balance is already there from the beginning in those amoeba that is contracting and expanding. So that is going on for a long time, Then gradually we have land that starts to form. Then the fish, I saw on National Geographic or so, or BBC, I don't know, still there is a kind of fish, kind of carp, that jumps on the land and looks kind of enjoying himself quite a bit there and jumping back. Over millions of years, that happens, and that kind of fish start to eat also on the land. Now that's a big difference, because what's the difference between seaweed, plants that are growing in the water, or plants that are growing on the land? Well, the big difference is how they deal with oxygen, how they deal with the air. So the same thing here, the animals that are gradually living more on the land, there's a big transformation that's going on in the sense of dealing with air. And we had a very interesting development from the fish. They have, I don't know what to say in English, the kiwi, what we say, that gradually start to transform in a more young position into lungs. So that's one of the main things, how to deal with oxygen. Then more and more those amphibians who can live and in the water and in the sea, they gradually started to change into reptiles and into birds. Yeah, that whole history went through a lot of cycles. So the first cycle is the earth is spinning around. So we have day and night, we have warm and cold, and we have light and dark. Then the earth is spinning around by itself, but also turning around in the solar system. And then we get the seasons. We have springtime, and we have summertime, autumn, winter time. So we have light and dark, and we have warm and cold. Now, okay, now you have the sun with all the planets around. The sun is also moving around and moving around. It's a bigger picture, moving around in the galaxy. And this cycle that the sun with everything up and around moves around in the solar system, in the galaxy. How long does it take? Well, that takes about 200 million years. Wow, that's quite something. So we have a galactic summer, we have a galactic winter, and now what's happening in the summer? Well, in the summer we see everything is blossoming, it's growing, whatever. What is happening in a galactic summer? Well, it's even more. In a galactic summer, then everything grows, and we have big things, and we have big animals, and we have big plants. Do you know one of those galactic summers? Well, I wasn't there. No, I understand. But we're making movies about all kinds of stuff. And one of the movies is about one of those galactic summers. What's the name of that movie? Yes, Jurassic Park. Jurassic is a scientific name for one of those galactic summers. So a few times we went through that cycle. So there were times that we have enormous plants and animals, and then there are times that we're moving from a galactic summer, gradually galactic autumn, and now actually we are in a kind of galactic winter. So everything is getting a little bit more tight, a little bit more smaller, a little bit more condensed.
Can we understand global warming, so-called, in this context?
No. Because this galactic summer winter is has seasons from 50 million years. So my understanding about the galactics, the warming of the Earth, there are two things. And one of the things, of course, is that what we contribute to the disbalance from using oil, whatever. So, what is an interesting question? We're taking so much oil and things from the Earth that the Earth is kind of reacting. And I think I read a story in East-West Journal a long time ago. And there was the gold rush. The gold rush a long time ago. But the Indians, and I think we're Hopi Indians in that area too, in the Four Corner area, they said, this is Holy Land, where the gold and the silver was. This is Holy Land, shouldn't touch that. But of course, couldn't hold the white man coming. And okay, they were taking out the gold and the silver. And first of all, what was the Holy Land? The Holy Land was that at that places, there was a lot of water movement. There were geysers and there was up and down, a lot of energy was there. Then by taking out all the gold and the silver, down, taking it out, the whole electromagnetic fields around there in that area started to disappear. And it became desert. So the Earth is reacting anyway, in the same way as if we're taking out the minerals in our body, then also what's happening? Taking out the minerals, then something above here is changing because we cannot contact anymore. Because when you're taking out the minerals, then you become anemic. When you become anemic, you have a difficulty to not only to bind the oxygen in the lungs, but especially difficulty to make contact with the outside world. So if you're anemic, you become depressed. You have because your whole system connecting with the clouds, so with the energy, that is not there anymore. So you become depressive. So if the energy is coming back because your iron quality is gradually coming back, wow, your antenna is functioning again, you can make in contact, whatever, and your social life becomes back again. So what's in the soil, what's about, that's quite interesting. And what we did over the last last 100 years, we were taking so many things out of the earth that the earth needs, I don't know how many million years to restore that kind of thing. So we kind of making quite some imbalances in the earth. But on the other hand, the earth is constantly moving, and you have the big seasons, whatever. But in between, there's always small things going on, because we have winter, we have summer, but sometimes in the winter it's quite warm. Generally, it's colder than in the summer, but sometimes it's really. And those changes are appearing a little bit more than before, looks like. But anyway, those things are always there. And I was once in Alaska and going at one of the those ice rivers. Mark, help is die ijsrivier die naar beneden komen? The glaciers. The glaciers.
Nice.
So, and I was there, and there were like signs, and now it's still here, but 20 years ago the glacier was there, and 50 years ago the glacier came to here, and that was until 1800 So from 1800 the glacier started already to disappear. At that time there were no cars, and we didn't pull up the oil and so the earth is going through stages, and I'm sure that humans have some kind of effect on the whole problem too. But for me, that's not the main problem. The main problem is not the environment as the nature, whatever. The bigger problem is the consciousness of the people. Because if we have a natural consciousness, then all the problems will disappear. Because we will eat well, we have natural agriculture, we don't have all those big industries, we don't need them all, and the transport is going to change, and our intellect is going to change, and we'll solve the problems like hell. Now we are creating problems. And now we are in a time that we have to learn how to enjoy creating solutions for the problems. We enjoyed a lot by creating problems. We enjoyed a lot by creating televisions and cars and developing Coca-Cola, developing Red Bull. We enjoyed a lot, you know. But finding a solution to restore the balance in our body, that's a bigger challenge. And if we focus a little bit more on that, then all the rest will go a lot more easy. So that's a bit the inspiration that we should get from the biological evolution. So we went through all kind of stages, then gradually moving on. And we have ancient plants. What's special about ancient plants? Do you know some kind of plants that looking from existed already a long time ago? Yes. We have, for example, like ferns. Ferns that you grow in the wood, you know. Yeah, okay. What is special about ferns? Especially about the energy from the ferns, how they reproduce themselves, the seeds. Well, the ferns have lots of seeds. They have thousands of seeds all over the place. Then we see that we follow the structure of the plant life. We see that gradually the seeds are getting younger and younger and younger. And now we have wild grass, and now we have more modern kind of plants. What is, for example, also modern plants? Everything that we eat is not so ancient, but some of them a little bit, but they're all basically much more modern. And they bear kind of different seeds that you can sow them and grow your vegetables, whatever. So that is more recent. But then even more recent is that the seeds are gradually getting more compact and more strong. And And that is the period of the seeds and the fruits. And the seeds of the fruits is quite special in this sense that before everything was like growing up, and then we have trees. You see, if you look well in Jurassic Park, you don't see any trees. You see big plants, but trees that are producing this kind of energy, where the seeds are in the center and the flesh is around, like, for example, an apple, and many fruits have the center inside. And also this kind of structure, like pumpkins, for example, that means it's much more recent. Seeds and fruits, much more strong energy in the center, much more strong seeds. Then if we continue, then we have some very interesting plants where the fruit and the seed is the same thing. It's the beginning and it's the end. So what's that? Well, you have to look around, and then you see those special kind of plants that have like antennas that are kind of picking up energy from as far as possible. And that structure of the plant is so designed that everything goes right into the seed. And we get very strong seeds that you can hold, you can store them for hundreds of years and still have energy. You still can sow them, they still has life. And that are the cereal grains. That's very special. So, okay, this is very interesting how more and more information is gathering on Earth and more energy is concentrated into the plant life, into the seeds. Now, if we compare that and we look at animal life, now we're at the reptiles and at the birds, and then gradually mammals appear. And if we go short, then we have the apes, and finally we have humans. Till now, it's the most developed ant part. And well, interesting is that we see interesting relation between development of the plants, development of interesting, because when the fruits and the seeds start to develop, at the time of the apes, and mammals, they were like eating much more grasses and whatever is growing, in fact. But then trees, when trees were appearing on Earth, and seeds and fruits, that's a kind of completely different thing, and gradually apes appeared. And then from the apes, well, our DNA, if you compare that with apes, well, there's quite similar, but still there's a big difference. So that kind of thing, if we study the biological evolution, what was that English guy there? Sorry, I forgot. But if we study this, then we see that kind of evolution. But here is something difficult in a way that how did man appear on Earth? In what time? What made that change? That you can call, in science, I call that the missing link. The missing link. There's a guy from Israel, Harari. What's his name? I think it's Harari. He has an interesting explanation. There's some interesting things, but his explanation about why they started to stand up is quite interesting. He said that in the savannah, the grass were high and the animals were smaller. So in order to see where the enemies were coming from, they had to stand up to look for that. Well, that is very interesting because I have a dog, and a dog is sitting inside, and suddenly he starts to bark. And then I know there's someone around, and the dog didn't see them. I don't know if he smells or what, but he knows. So those animals in the savannah, they didn't have to stand up to look for the animals. They felt it, they heard it, they smelled it, whatever, you know. Anyway, it's quite interesting. And more we're finding humans that are older than we thought. How old the man is, they're much more older. We still don't have a clue where the man is coming from, and still that DNA is quite similar. Now, okay, if we look up here, where are the cereals coming from? Wow, I don't know. So if we don't know, then you go look for it in libraries or whatever. But then you go to the wise and old people and you ask them, like the Indians, for example, and you ask them, where is the corn coming from? Well, they have their stories, they have their mythology, very old stories, and they say, well, it's a present from the gods. Oh, that's interesting, because if you go to Africa, where they have the sorghum and they have the tev and all kinds of different kind of cereals and so, they have similar stories. You go to Japan, where's the rice coming from? It's also present of the gods. That is very similar story everywhere. Then we have those cycles, the cycles from the galactic year. But if we look around on the earth, there are so many things that we still, it's there, but we don't have any explanation for. We still are puzzling about the pyramids. You have in South America, Nazca, those, I don't know, looks like an eagle. They discovered when they could take pictures from above in the air, say, what's that, you know? And we just cannot figure it out. There's so many of those things. For example, in Doylestown in Pennsylvania, there is a field and it's called the Ringing Rocks. The Ringing Rocks, so what's that? Yeah, because those rocks, if you knock on them, they have a different sound than a normal rock, you know. So, and Mitchell and Wentz was there, and I think it was Saul Goodman. He took Mitchell there. And
Denny Waxman.
Denny
Waxman.
Okay. And so Mitchell said, he said, there was a pyramid here, he said, and they were kind of experimenting with energy, and they kind of made a mistake and the whole thing blew up. And by that blowing up from that kind of energy that they were experimenting with, the structure of the stones changed in that sense that it has different sound. Well, is that true or not? Anyway, it's an interesting explanation. So if you want to know more, you find the books from Erik van Däniken. Erik van Däniken, he made a park near Interlaken in Switzerland, and it's called Mystery Park. Maybe, I think it's closed now. And in that park, he had 7 or 8 different places where he showed everything about the pyramids, everything about Nazca, everything about several things that still is existing in the world and where we don't have any explanation for. So we're still puzzling about what kind of cultures have been on this earth that we have no idea for. So the same thing, now we're studying a lot of interesting things, and we're studying the Tao, and we're studying acupuncture, whatever. All that kind of stuff is about 4, 5, 6,000 years, or maybe the first time that they wrote it down, but we don't have any idea what kind of culture had such an understanding to develop those things. I'm still puzzling. So anyway, it's amazing what the history of this earth. It's amazing, and constantly we discover new things. But anyway, those cereals, where are they coming from? Anyway, it's interesting that you see that the apes are changing their attitude, how they walk, from mammals into this little bit more yin and yang thing, and gradually getting up. And that this kind of plant is completely straight. And that we're kind of moving up. Well, maybe this is an interesting understanding or explanation why we're standing up. Anyway, there's no science, there's no proof about that I'm right or wrong. I'm just telling interesting stories, from what I heard from Mitchell. But this is so interesting because if we ask, what can we eat? Well, what can we eat? Well, we like freedom. You go to a doctor and the doctor will say, you can eat anything. What does it mean if the doctor is saying, you can eat anything? Well, according to me, it has two possible meanings. One is, you can eat anything because I don't know anything about it. Or the other explanation is, and that's even better, is you can eat anything because it's your responsibility. That's interesting. So we have to find out. Can we eat everything? Okay, let's find out. No problem with pancakes, no problem. No problem with fruits, no problem with. Well, some of those things we can eat just a little bit as a medicine. If we eat a lot, maybe it's poison. So the gradation in how much, but there's basically no problem. Yeah, seaweed, a lot of people have a big difficulty with seaweed, but so many people have been using, and cultures have been using seaweed as a very good source of minerals. Then, anyway, those bacteria, and so we take them in without knowing. And then, okay, you have people who are completely vegetarian, yeah, but a lot of people still enjoy fish, and a lot of people still enjoy some birds, whatever, and even have a steak or. And then there's a difference between how you eat animal food. You can eat the more Western side. You have a big steak, and afterwards Howard Johnson ice cream, 28 different kind of taste, all artificial with the colors. Or you can eat the meat more like in the Orient, where they eat meat but cooked with a lot of vegetables. It's different than the worst thing you can do is barbecue to eat meat. The best way is cook it the right way so that it digests, and with the right taste and the right vegetables, whatever. So anyway, then it's getting a little bit more difficult. Then, I don't know. Who is eating? Who is eating humans? Well, the cannibals, but they don't develop good health. They don't develop strong culture. So maybe better stay away. But we have to see the whole picture. And some people say that they eat. No. So I see. What did you eat the first 9 months of your life? Mother's milk. No. I mean the first 9 months of your life. First 9 months. Yeah. You were eating the blood of your mother. Is there something more essential on animal food than the blood? So for 9 months, you were using straight from the tap your mother's blood. Of course, you didn't kill your mother, but you were eating human energy and human blood that you're using and didn't have to digest. You did not have to digest because it's immediately coming in your system. All right, but after you're born, you have to cut it. Of course, you have to wait till there's no pulse anymore. You have to wait long enough before you cut it. Then you cut it. So, what do you eat after you're born? Yeah, well, mother's milk. Mother's milk is transformed blood. It's still animal food, but milk is very easy to digest. And then after a while, then after 6 months or more, then you start eating from the environment. So what is the most essential food for humans? It's cereals. It's cereals, it's fruit, it's vegetables, but more from this part. And in order to digest, because as a baby, your system is not really well prepared yet, so you have to cook it well. You have to cook it very softly. And of course, that's a class about baby food, but basically it's very soft cooked cereals with whatever. Combination of fruits and cereals, maybe not so good. But anyway, from this part. Now, interesting, what is changing if a baby starts to use his digestive system complete so that he is getting energy from the environment, not from the mother. Very interesting. There are two things that are changing. That's from the digestive system. The stools start to change immediately. And something from the nervous system. Something from the nervous system in the sense that this kind of baby, really baby-like thing is gradually changing into some kind of alertness because he's getting a little bit more conscious about environment. This too much baby-like is changing into, wow. Look well at the baby when they start eating, how they are changing. Stools is changing and something starts to discover the world. That's the first step of becoming more independent from your mother. All right, so actually, maybe we should stay away from that, and maybe we should stay away from that more and more and more, and going to more and more and more towards this part. Why? Because animals, their digestive system is there to make their quality. So if we eat animal food, then we have to break down those proteins, whatever, in order to change them for our quality. And in that kind of process, for example, the proteins from animals are not so stable. They fall apart into ammoniac and other things that are a little bit poisoning our system. So it's not the most efficient way to get our energy. So I have to be careful with animal food. If you like animal food, then better find out in what way, what kind of combination that it is easy to digest. But basically also for ethical and ethical reasons why we should raise animals, and we feed them in the wrong way, and we put them in boxes, and that cannot be a kind of healthy kind of. Only that reason you should stop already, not poisoning yourself. All the studies that are there, because when they bring the cows or whatever to a slaughterhouse, how that is changing their whole hormone system, how poisonous that becomes in a way. They better stay away from that. So there are better ways to deal with animals than eating them. So gradually, maybe better stay away. Then most of the religions, they don't have any problems with sea life, seafood. And because it's more simple and it's much more easy to break down, to digest, and to digest ourselves, you know. So this kind of. So, but anyway, basically, stay away from here, and maybe in the sea and the fish. Well, first of all, if we eat fish, we should eat fish that is free. That's free, swimming around, whatever. Not the fish that a fish from a fish farm. It's crazy to have those salmons that are moving around the whole world, whatever, you know, and the more adventurous life that they have, that kind of power in a fish that is raised in a farm. A salmon that is raised in a farm doesn't make sense, you know. Stay away from it. Don't be crazy. We do the same with fish, what we did with animals. We put them in cages, we feed them well so that they grow very fast. Yeah, okay. So whatever reason, I think your vibrational quality will get better if you reduce those things and start developing more of this kind of part. Now, there are a few interesting things that we do, and all they don't do that. And that is, for example, the use of fire. The use of fire, so therefore we have the capacity to live anywhere around the world. And we can adapt our food with different kind of ways of cooking and preparing food, especially by using fire. By using fire, we can kind of making that food more easy to digest. And one of the basic foods is cereals, whatever way. How to cook them? Well, first I have to explain that in the food, we have minerals, we have protein, we have carbohydrates, we have water, there's air, and there is vibration and radiation. The vibration and the radiation, that is the life force, the seed capacity. And any kind of modern diet, they only go till there. They don't study the vibrational quality. Vibrational quality, vegetables that are growing in the air, in the garden. They deal with weather, they deal with cold, they deal with sunshine, and they build up strong kind of character, strong kind of capacity. Right. Then, if you have the several kind of vegetables, but you grow them in a glass house. All right, they're still there, still in the ground, but they're kind of protected. So they're less strong. Then finally, you have them in a glass house, but they are fed by the computer with all kind of substances and whatever. This kind of food is not able anymore to develop their own seeds. There's a change into that. Same is happening with people, you know. People that having their own idea, having interesting life and having good enthusiasm and enjoying their life, whatever. But in a way, like people that are gradually have emotional problems and have burnouts and have all kind of problems and have problems with their reproduction system. That's already quite deep. That is because we are eating dead food. So minerals are important, protein, everything, but the vibrational quality and the strongest life force in the plant is in the seeds, especially in the cereals. You can keep them hundreds of years. Then For example, if you cook the rice, you cook the rice, water, and you add a little bit salt. Because you add some yin, you add some yang, a little bit salt, it helps to open the carbohydrates. You're using cooking a little bit salt to make it sweet. You make a soup, and in order to make that soup sweet, add a little bit salt. You have bread without salt has no taste. So you add a little bit salt in order to have a more sweet taste. Okay, then how do you cook the rice? You keep everything inside, so you have a heavy pot or pressure cook, and then, okay, fire. Everything is boiling. Everything is boiling, and then you put on the low flame in order that you give the time to the cereals to gradually absorb the water and gradually being more digestible. Then, when is it cooked? Well, if it's not ready, then you still smell the water. If it's too late, okay, you smell and it's burnt, of course. But if it's really ready, then you have a nice, sweet smell. Then, okay, put fire out. You put the fire out and you wait. Because not only the carbohydrates are coming open, but also the vibrational qualities and everything coming open. Put the fire out and wait till that kind of pressure is gradually again into the food. So in the Orient we call that, this is an essential energy, that kind of smell. So that's the best way to cook cereals. Sometimes you should really do that. Then you mix it, you wait till the pressure is down, you open up, you mix it, and you serve it. And that is so this kind, and to really having that kind of food really opening up, you need flames. You need flames. If you have electricity, it's much more aggressive. It's much more aggressive towards the energy of the seeds. If you use microwave, well, microwave has polarity, positive and a negative part, and that's changing. I don't know how many thousands a second. Now, every part of the cell has a positive side and a negative side. So every time that's changing, or the cells are changing like that, that's creating the heat. But if those cells are changing like that, the whole energy field, the whole electromagnetic field there is immediately completely destroyed. So you really need to take the time to open up the energy. Wow. It's a very important thing. Then a lot of food now is radiated. Well, Belgium and Holland, we have a lot of potatoes, but all those potatoes, I don't recommend to eat too much potatoes. But anyway, all those potatoes are radiated. So the life is gone already a long time. This is dead food. So how to prepare food and how to grow food, how to store it, whatever, very important thing. We have to know a little bit more about the energy. Because the energy from the seeds gradually, Here we have the same thing, Those fish, they have lots of seeds, abundance, lots of seeds. Then gradually we have the amphibians, like from frog, and there's already a lot of seeds, but looks a little bit like eggs, but still jelly. Then a little bit further, it's still out, but with the shell, but it's still out. Then next, the eggs are inside, even much more young place inside, till finally all the energy is going to one baby. So that's interesting evolution about everything is getting more and more and more young. Then what is happening with the world? We're opening up more and more. We have more information from the sun. We have more information from whatever influence is there. The sun has a strong influence on our autonomic nervous system. So if you have a lot of trouble with autonomic nervous system, and very interesting, there's no medication. If you have a trouble with your parasympathetic nervous system, that or digestion or peristaltic movement, and so there is no medication. The only thing that can restore that is lifestyle. Breathing, energy, food, whatever. Lifestyle, bringing back to life. Lifestyle. Bringing back to life. So, what is about all that information? Because Moss has not so much information. Gradually, everything is opening up and we get more information, more information. The structure is changing till the last part has the structure to gather energy from very far away. The influence from the sun. What is the influence from the moon on the land? Well, that's amazing. If I go to Antwerp and I see that the water in the river is rising 6 meters down, that's amazing. And that's all under the influence of the moon. Now, what is the effect from the moon on the plants? Well, if you study herbal medicine, then certain herbs you have to harvest when it's full moon. And some you have to harvest when it's new moon. And all in agriculture, the seeding calendars are made by the sun, the moon cycle. Has a very strong influence on that. What is the influence on the moon on man? Well, especially a woman. The menstruation cycle. Menstruation cycle, how many days? 28. The moon, 28. So a lot of macrobiotic people, women who started strongly macrobiotics and then menstruation stops. And after 6 months or more, gradually menstruation coming back. And then it's much more in order with the cycle of the moon, or with new moon, or with... so very interesting. Also, we have the full moon parties. Full moon, much more rising energy, much more that kind. There's a lot of things that we do unconsciously. So then you go more on the planets and that kind of influence on our system is called astrology. Like study 9-star key, for example, or different kinds of systems. Studying different kinds of information on our system. It's very interesting study. How the influence from the heaven has an influence on our system. The same as a study, what kind of food has a different influence on our energy. Huge, interesting study. So, if we study that, we go through that evolution again. 6 months, 9 months, we're living in mother's womb. From one egg, gradually like a fish, whatever. Then we're born, start to crawl around, gradually getting up, gradually standing up. So actually we're moving through the whole evolution again. That all has, let's see, this part. What is that? According to food. Or this part of the evolution, with what part of our body is that corresponding? Well, the sea. Life starts in the sea. And where is human life starting? Mother's womb. Not only that, but also our life support, that kind of stuff starts here. So we have a big relation with this part and that part. Now, according to food, how do you call this? There's some water, some salt, maybe some seaweed, little bit animal protein, whatever. So there's a whole stuff. How do you call that? Well, that is called a soup. It's a big soup. Right, soup. How did your grandmother make soup? Oh yeah, cooking vegetables. Yeah, cooking vegetables is not very tasty, not very strengthening. So how did your grandmother cook? So we're like West Europe, and so quite some meat eating. So what did they do? They took a bone from a cow, whatever. They took a bone and they cooked it long time cooking to get the minerals and to get the protein out in a way that it is easy to absorb. And they use that broth, that stock, to make the soup strong. But now we know that with all those cows' bone sickness and so, that actually maybe there are better ways, you know. And we got a lot of information from the East, so let's find out what did they do. They did cook bones because they didn't have bones, but they used something else. And they used some very rich kind of protein source. And with that protein source, they did something so that that protein easily fell down into all the amino acids that we need to build up our system. You know? And that is called miso. Now, something very interesting about miso and about soybeans, because the soybeans are, well, we got this information from the East, that this soybean is actually one of the best sources of protein. Now, okay, we are very creative, but sometimes in a bit crazy sense. So if soya is very healthy, so okay, let's make something from the soya. And then they have a soya milk, and they have soya mayonnaise, and they have soya ice cream, and they have all those interesting soya desserts with sugar and with, that's all bullshit, you know, that's all bad for your intestines, but sells well. Can create very nice business. Company in Belgium was very creative with that. They sold it to the Americans and they made a lot of money. Well, that's not so good. But then we look back to the Orient and we see that they use the soybeans only in a fermented way. And they made the miso, they made soy sauce, and they have tempeh, they have natto, all in a fermented way. And that's something completely different, because everyone knows those Actimel and Provamel and the Japanese, what's the name again? Anyway, those probiotics that are good for your intestines, but it doesn't win from the miso. This is the real stuff. But in order to get this information, you need to have education. And if you have a good education, then you know why we should eat miso. why should you eat miso soup? Unless you find something even better. Yeah, but miso is coming from Japan. It's quite interesting that some people start questioning when you import something that's good for your health. But then I ask, where is your coffee coming from? Where are your bananas coming from? Where is your chocolate coming from? That's not a problem. If that kind of products, we never ask the question, where is it coming from? It doesn't matter where it's coming from, as long as you have it. But when it's something for your health, we start asking questions. Now, interesting enough, now, where are in America, you have quite some miso company, red miso company, Ohio miso company, and also it's interesting that there's a lot of knowledge. There is a lot of knowledge in the States and in the West about miso and about fermentation, because in the 60s, the 70s, quite some macrobiology people went to Japan and started studying their miso and different kind of stuff and different kind of things, and they learned the very traditional way, but they add some scientific way, some research done in the laboratory about all the bacterial life in order to understand even better. So in order for evolution, we need to understand tradition. We add something new from what's developing nowadays, and those two have to go together. So anyway, this miso with little bit seaweed and maybe some vegetables, whatever, is the best part for this part in our body. And let's see. So in order to understand that a little bit, this we have to understand. The life started with the minerals. The first thing that started to develop in life and so was protein. The carbohydrates, chemically, it's a later evolution. That all in an environment of water. Then we start to live in an environment of air. And we need a lot of vibration with everything. But later on, we move from this life into the world of vibration and radiation. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One, two, three. What is there again that also we have 7? One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. What's the relation with the chakras and with the food? So, shall we have a break about 4 or 5 minutes?
Okay, that's
Shall
fine.
we have a break about 4 or 5 minutes?
Okay, sounds good.
Then, so the last part is how that biological evolution, how we're going to use that to see those different parts and what's the effect on the chakras and on our life.
Oh, yeah.
What's your question?
Oh, hello, Jan. Hello, Jan.
Yeah, I bet it.
Okay. I'll do it in English, of course. I think when you were talking about the the products which are much better from the soya beans, which are used in Japan, are the fermented products. There's one product you couldn't recall just now from the top of your head. I think you want to mention natto.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Natto, tempeh.
Yeah.
Yeah, tempeh is Indonesian, but natto, quite interesting. Still in Japan, every place where you go, hotels, whatever, In the morning, you have natto,
Okay, yeah,
a little bit of mustard, a little bit shoyu.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hello, everyone. Well, one of the important things is that all the different knowledges that we have, to put them together and to see what has a relation with what. And if we put now those minerals, protein, carbohydrates like this, then it's quite interesting to study that kind of relation. If you have problems, I'm going to bring them together, those two, because also it has to do with also kidney energy, sexual energy, the whole thing. Protein and minerals. So first of all, if we're talking about minerals, stay away from the white salt, from the kitchen salt. Use sea salt and use good type of seaweeds. And protein. If you change, for example, animal protein into plant protein, it will change your social life. I'm very sure. And part of your friends will go, part of your friends will stay, and you will get new friends. It has really a very strong effect on your social life. You have not only on your intestines, because if you start, for example, to use miso soup, this type of protein will change your digestive system and will have a strong effect on your social life. Now, for example, what kind of protein of what kind of food is traditionally good to support your sexual capacity? Well, traditionally, for example, everything that has to do with primitive fish life, seafoods, very simple kind of seafoods, that's traditionally good, and fish soup and caviar. The caviar is quite young because there are eggs. So if you use caviar and it's quite young, quite strong effect, then you need something in with caviar. So what's that? What do you drink together with eating caviar? Champagne. That's a very good combination. It's a bit extreme, but a good combination. So champagne is, for example, something that you drink a little bit and wow, it does the trick immediately, you know, it really relaxes you. And so sometimes alcohol is getting used as aperitif in order to soften your system a little bit so you can enjoy dinner much more. So mainly this alcohol is because of a past from more animal kind of protein. Interesting also, if you use protein, what kind of food is helping to digest protein? Well, if you go to a Japanese restaurant and you have sashimi, then some sashimi is together with soy sauce with daikon, grated daikon. Grated daikon helps to digest protein. Or sometimes it's with wasabi, horseradish. There's also strong, pungent taste that helps to digest. But anyway, good type of protein, very important. And sometimes people are not paying enough attention to have enough protein. Starting to get a little bit out of balance, losing a kind of comfort and don't know what. Use good type of protein. Okay. This intellect connection, that are the organs that I explained before, that are dealing with the sugar level. Of course, and the sugar level and pancreas producing insulin, anti-insulin, glucagon, those two. It all has to do with carbon, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates in the sense that when you change your sugar from simple sugar to complex sugar, your intellectual view will widen. More easy to get a bigger picture. If you only use those simple sugars, then you tend to be specialized in something, but cannot have enough view, intellectual view on the whole picture. So please use carbohydrates. And study what kind of food has a strong impact on. So if we study vegetables, you have the leafy green vegetables, you have the round vegetables, you have the root vegetables. The round vegetables basically have very strong impact on those middle organs. And for example, the beans that are containing a lot of carbohydrates, like azuki beans, and onions and kabocha, pumpkins, the right good sweet pumpkins. They're all kind of interesting combinations to use for restoring imbalances in the sugar level and imbalances in the pancreas. You need to have good quality sugars, sweetness. Then the heart, emotions. To move those emotions, you need some liquid. Do the test. Invite people in your house. And put everything on the table except some drinks. No drinks, only things to eat. How long it will last? Before someone will ask you in a very polite way, can I have a glass of water, please? Very interesting. How that, if you invite people, the first thing you ask is, what do you want to drink? To make them at ease, because the liquids are doing the trick. And that is also the meaning of tea ceremony. Drinks always are very important on that emotional and kind of social level. You invite someone, first thing is, what do you like to drink? Beer, tea, alcohol, coffee, doesn't matter, but some kind of liquid too. And then, of course, if you have problems with the heart, you have to find out that some drinks are maybe not so good, you know. For some people, alcohol, the heart is too much expanded, your nose is getting like a tomato nose, well, there's not, or you drink too much coffee. That's the taste from the heart. Bitter in the mouth makes the heart healthy. It's an expression in Dutch. And where is the heart? The heart is on the tongue. That's where the heart is expressing itself. And bitter has a strong effect in controlling the fire energy. So anyway, all those tastes that are related to organs, you have to check what kind of taste, is that a healthy taste or not a healthy taste? For example, people with some kind of heart problem, and heart has to do with capacity to be enthusiastic. Also, it has to do with restlessness. You feel quiet or constantly, that is a heart problem. So the whole day long you're running around like hell, oh, I forgot something, I had to do this, that, never come at ease, you know, and the whole day you drink coffee and you don't see any relation between this kind of stimulation and your behavior, yeah, you're in trouble. If we start to study and to see relations like what is the cause and what's the reaction, then we can change it. So, interesting relation. Then air. If you want to express yourself well, you have to learn how to use the capacity. If you want to be an opera singer, you need to, that expression, you need a full expression. You need the capacity to deal with air. Then, this is quite interesting, because if you have trouble with your mind, whatever, and you go to a doctor, so what is the advice of a doctor? So many times he will say, you need a rest. Okay, you need a rest. Okay, you go home, you need a rest. Then you sit in a coach and you say, okay, I need a rest, so watch television, or you have a laptop, or whatever. Actually, that kind of vibration, better stay away from that. Okay, put television on. Then you like to go to your friends, but you have to rest, So, okay, you take mobile phone. So actually, that kind of vibration, better stay away. All right, then you're hungry, but you have to rest. So you put your food in the microwave. Better stay away from all that kind of vibration. All right, then what do you do? Okay, you go to a place where there's good air. You go to the mountain, you go to the sea, or you go to the woods. You have to change air. It's very good if you have problems. Then you go to a place where the hotel or the place where you go to is not made from steel and concrete, but a place that has much more tradition from natural stuff and much more wood. Very different kind of vibration. And you go to a place where they serve food with good vibrations and preferable organic foods, where they cook with fire, not with electricity. And then you go to a place where they have good radiation, and evening time, you can have a treatment from some guy with 2 good hands with good infrared radiation to give you a good shiatsu treatment. So in that environment, much more easy to restore your problems. Get away from all artificial vibrations and go to more natural vibrations. And start doing good exercises, good breathing, good walks, good food, whatever. And in a place where I used to teach a lot in Quintal, well, that's an ideal place actually to get this kind of restoration. And then radiation. As I said before, the quality here is the result from your complete condition and helps you to get the right information, to get the right direction. That's the result from that. So that's a quite interesting relation that will give you a lot of inspiration also in your cooking styles. So this part, lower part, is miso soup, whatever. Two, in the macrobiotic lifestyle, 2 big things, big chains is miso soup and cereal grains. Cereal grains, much more for that. Of course, you have the carbohydrates and you have the whatever, but the main thing is from the cereals is that kind of energy. That kind of energy that makes you human and that stimulates you to find the human solutions for the problems. Much more than the nourishing part is the energetic part. Then in between, you have to be very creative with all these parts. With leafy vegetables, with the round vegetables, with the root vegetables, with fruits. And so that's a very important thing. The leafy vegetables, more on top, also to have that yin energy. When there's too much stagnation, you need a lot of green vegetables. Very important. You have the round vegetables, onion, pumpkin, cabbage, whatever, that kind of vegetables. And you need root vegetables, more for the winter time. And especially if you don't eat animal food, this kind of young quality, like burdock, very, very, very interesting root that is cultivated in Japan, but now more and more also in Belgium and many other places where macrobiotic people have been introducing those things. Gradually, it's becoming part of the natural food store. We have like burdock, Kimpira way of making burdock, cutting into matches, 50% burdock, 50% carrots. You saute them, a little bit of oil, till they are flexible, then cover them with water and cook on a low flame till all the water is evaporated with a little bit of soy sauce, and you can eat it warm or cold. This kind of young quality, that is very important if you stop eating animal food. So this biological evolution and the result from that, we have to learn to play with things. Okay, questions?
Hi, Mark. I was wondering, where do you purchase natto? I live in California in the USA, and I bought it from Rhapsody, but there's a lot of shipping costs.
Lots of what shipping costs for natto?
It's expensive to ship because they need to keep it cold going from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's quite easy to make it yourself, you know. If you have the right koji, and maybe you have to find, there's quite some information if you look around on everything that has to do with natto. The only thing is you need, well, we have an old fridge, small fridge at home, and so we put how to call that? We put a lamp and something to control the temperature. That the lamp goes out and on, that you have a constant temperature in the fridge. And you just cook the soybeans and you mix it with the koji and you put it in, put a plastic cover over that, and it's 24 hours or so, and then you have natto. So it's not so difficult to make it, but it's very good for this part. Very good for that part. Everything that has to do with the right bacteria in your and everything that has to do with sexual organs, and so quite important stuff, you know. And so I should trying to find out if you can make it yourself. It's very creative stuff.
Okay, thank you. I also heard it's good if you have osteoporosis. That's why I'm so interested.
Yeah. Success. Yeah, I think one of the guys who knows a lot is William Shirtleff. Wrote several books about miso and soya, whatever. There are quite some people in the States that know a lot, and that information you will find out, you know.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes. You mentioned something about seeds as a replacement for the animal food. The basic seeds. Can you repeat these two ideas about seeds on the tree? Do you understand my question?
No, repeat it.
All the way on the right here. Yeah. Yes, this one.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you say about that?
Well, this is stronger kind of thing together. So, but that is not basically, there's a lot of stuff we can use, but a little bit more, these seeds, the seeds
Okay.
from the cereals are more important. But this kind of seeds are quite important too, but not in the same amount. For example,
What is the other one? The right one? What kind? All
that,
the
is,
way, yeah.
that are the cereals.
Cereals,
Yeah, cereals.
like what?
Like rice and rye and wheat and buckwheat and sorghum and teff.
Okay.
So that kind of. These seeds are like all quite important. Sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, and different nuts and whatever.
Okay.
They're also quite important. Because those seeds have, instead of using more oil, this contains a lot of oil too, those seeds. And we have to learn how to use them. Basically, the seeds, we should roast them a little bit because then they're much more easy to digest and taste better also.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jan?
Yeah.
Hi, Jan. Just a question. You just mentioned a book. When we were talking about natto, you mentioned a book from a particular writer.
Yeah.
Could you repeat that, please?
William Shirtleff. William Shirtleff. He's a long time pioneer in everything that has to do with soya.
Okay, and how do you spell his surname?
Shirtleff is spelled S-H-U-R-T-L-E-F-F.
Okay.
S-H-U-R, Jan, S-H-U-R.
S-H-U?
Yes.
Shirtleff.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
S-H-U-R.
Yeah. Well, anyway, try on the internet different times and you'll find out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Well, of course, in the beginning, we all knew, we studied in Boston, we studied here and there, we all knew all those kind of books. And a lot of that information is not available anymore. The same thing as what I'm teaching today, biological evolution and the beginning of the yin and yang, those very basic things are not so much taught anymore. And it's so basic and it's so important. And, you know, if you get a lecture about the subject, then it's much more easy to study in the books. Well, it's my experience. I'm not a schooler. I need contacts before I go into a book. And if you go now into the books of Micho about biological evolution, about those basic things, it's much more easy to understand if you have some kind of introduction. And I wish everyone a lot of success with going into those basic studies from, and even if you want, okay, recording in progress, okay. So please, I invite you to study a little bit more into the books from Michio and also the books from George Osawa. It's such inspiring information. Anyway, I enjoyed a lot doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, and it remains only for me to thank you once more. You are a master and a scholar. I really appreciate both your knowledge and your presentation.
Mm,
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.